Hey, hello, afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Duffy Cooley. This is episode 88 of Echo Office Hours. And we have a late breaking guest joining us, Mr. Nicholas Lake.
Man, sorry about that. You sent me the link in Slack, and for some reason, Slack was like, "Hey, let's go to the beginning of your conversation with Duffy." So I just scroll all the way down to find the link.
Nice.
So I was like, "No, come on."
No, it works out though. I was actually just coming on, so just saying hello to everybody and welcoming them to episode number 88. We're going to do a bit of a KubeCon wrap-up. I'm going to tell you kind of what I've been up to, what we've been up to as Cilium and Isovalent, and just kind of go through some of the memories of this crazy last week.
Yeah, I'm very excited. This KubeCon seemed like it was a really fun one to go to, particularly for people who are in this particular community that we're in.
Oh my gosh. Like, one thing I will start off with, though, is that, like, just being there, walking the show floor at KubeCon and, like, seeing everybody and just the absolute energy around everything to do with eBPF and Cilium and the whole space is just, it was breathtaking. Like, I mean, completely nuts. Like, it was just completely overwhelming in a way, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But let's jump into it and see what we were up to. So this is basically the post that came out right before KubeCon, kind of showing you what we would be doing and where and what we were talking about and that sort of stuff. I've got some great photos to share with you as well. But like, it started off with a little bit of pre-show, with a little bit of the pre-show stuff. We did an event. There were a few talks that were happening before KubeCon started. Like, CiliumCon was actually co-hosted event. And this year, the way that KubeCon handled the ticketing was a little bit different. So when you bought a ticket for KubeCon, you could buy a ticket that was an all-access pass. And that all-access pass meant that you could go to any co-located event and to any event inside of the main event. And that led to like, a surprising effect of, like, basically completely selling out all of the co-located events, including CiliumCon. Like, we had standing room only, like, basically the whole time. And I think I even have a picture of this. This is a great picture. But this is a
great picture. That's a very smart thing, by the way. I really like that, the all access, because it'd be too bad for attendee who's like, I paid for KubeCon, and we're like, hey, join us. Like, this talk that you were interested in is only at the day 0 event, the co-located event. Waka waka. Didn't know we had to pay for that one.
Yeah, exactly. It was nuts that way. So let's see if I can find one from just this is our space outside of CiliumCon, which is the main hall. And then this is like just the people showing up. Like, there's Mr. Raymond DeJong, who is the field CTO in Europe, and we have a couple other Isovalent EBs here. There's Thomas in the background, like John Fastman over here. But, like, you can see just the number of people that are here and just filling this whole space up. It was completely nuts.
Yeah,
like,
looks great.
The amount of energy. And this happened here. First time I saw it was basically like, so we had our Cilium booth right here in the middle here. This is where you can come ask us questions, get a t-shirt and some stickers, that sort of thing. And then to the right, there was a Microsoft desk. And then to the left, there was a SpectroCloud desk. And I kind of felt bad because there was so much energy around Cilium that, like, I was like, I don't even know how people are going to get to, like, the Microsoft it was VMware. It was VMware and the SpectroCloud booths. But SpectroCloud looked like they were having some good conversations. This is the CEO of SpectroCloud, actually, just over here on the left. But,
great.
Yeah, it was wild. And then the same thing happened actually on the show floor. Like, we had so many people showing up for, like, at the booth, both at the Cilium booth in the showcase area for talking about open source Cilium, and also at our Isovalent booth. Right next to our Isovalent booth was a NetApp booth. And again, I was like, wait, there's another booth? There's, like, they put us next to somebody. Okay. Full booth. Yeah, it was nuts. But yeah, just the incredible energy. So
I'd love to see some more of those pictures too.
I'm going to go through them, I think.
Okay.
We should look at a bunch because there's a ton in here.
So really quickly, actually, so since we're talking about the co-located events, did you have a chance to go to KubeCon Rejects this year?
I did, yes.
So how was that? I saw there was like a lot of like interesting talks at KubeCon Rejects. Duffy and I are alumni of Rejects.
It's true. Yeah.
It's a great con. Like, it's not actually technically part of KubeCon / Cloud Native Con. It's its own thing, but it's really great.
Yeah. And the Rejects talks are up. I mean, one of the things I really liked about that I really enjoy about Rejects is they actually do a really decent job of recording videos and getting those videos up pretty darn quick in good quality. So if you missed any of the talks at Rejects, or if you want to check out some of the talks that were not accepted into KubeCon this year, you can go to youtube.com, look up Rejects. Native Rejects, and then inside here there's going to be playlists that will show you. Oh, I guess they haven't got the playlist yet, but the videos are here.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so these are the videos for NA. I know that I've seen them up here. Okay, so what they've got right now is just the 4 main channels. It doesn't look like they've been broken out into categories yet, but these 4 are the rooms inside of day 1 and day 2, the 2 rooms that we had set up. So there was the suite and the warehouse, and the 2 rooms were actually really nice. And then inside of here, like, all of the talks will actually be recorded as part of this stream, and they'll likely get broken into actual talks and put into a playlist at some point. But I think everybody's still kind of reeling from KubeCon and all of that stuff. But there was a ton of really great content. This one was actually really interesting to me. This was a talk by Karthik Prabhakar, who's a good friend from Tegera, and also he's not at Tegera anymore. He's now a free-range networking guy. And his talk was about, could we use, well, one of the things he was talking about was a project that he's putting effort into with Cody McCain, where they're considering, is it possible to leverage Quick, which is a new protocol that leverages UDP for connectionless transport. So like a lot of the videos that you watch on YouTube, for example, are presented to you via the Quick protocol. The question that he was raising was, could we use that protocol as a transport protocol? Because it does increase the reliability of things. It has a lot of other benefits to leveraging it that way. But it was an interesting thought experiment presented in this talk. But
yeah, it's really cool.
But yeah, I was there. I actually arrived. So the first thing I did. Let's go back to the photos here. So the first thing I did was I flew to New York the week before KubeCon, and I hosted an event that was actually at the Tribeca Bar and Grill. It was called the Isovalent New York City Roundtable, where we had a bunch of people in the space. Both financial services, health services, a bunch of other folks in the area came and met up, and I did a presentation on like basically what Cilium is and how like the events can help you kind of understand what's happening in a continuous auditing and compliance sort of way. And then we also had a really good roundtable where we discussed like what trends we're seeing in the space and jumped into like some of the detail and kind of shared our opinions and our thoughts about like what everybody was seeing in the security world and also just in the networking space. And that was tremendous. But it also helped me kind of like deal with the jet lag because I was in New York for a week and then I flew directly from New York to Amsterdam, where I got to have lunch with these wonderful people.
Oh, that's great.
This is Jeremy and Noah and Eric, and they're some incredible folks from our community. And it turned out it was kind of funny because like I found this place because it was an outdoor restaurant like right on the water. It's right, what you see in the background here is actually the Rye, which is the convention center that KubeCon was held at. And I didn't know this at the time. Like I was just walking, I was like, well, I'm gonna go find a park that's kind of like between me and my buddy, and we're gonna go have some lunch and some late lunch there. And it turned out that the same place was also the location of the Contributor Social.
Oh.
So it was like super easy to get to. It's like, So I ended up like eating here like 3 or 4 different times, and it was just a great space.
Great.
But yeah, then I did rejects for the first 2 days, and I got to meet some of the wonderful people in our community once again. So there's Victor and Whitney and Rich, and my friend Steve Wade, and just a bunch of other folks from rejects, which was just a tremendously good time. I took a bit of time on Monday. I didn't go back to. I mean, I went to rejects for a little bit of time on Monday, but most of the time I was there was actually on Sunday, and then Monday I was kind of like, trying to bank up the hours so that I would be able to like really function for the rest of the week.
Yeah, like people don't realize if you haven't been to a KubeCon, it is a marathon. Even for like people like us who are like fairly extroverted or like at least good. I'm honestly as I've gotten older, I've become far more introverted, but I still really enjoy like the energy at KubeCon. But it sucks everybody dry.
It is a lot, yeah. And then I was saying, this was on Tuesday. This was our KubeCon main event, and it was absolutely nuts. It was just so many people with so much energy, just talking about all kinds of wonderful things. This is our new head of marketing, and Mr. Batu, obviously doing the magic. And I got some good pictures of our CTO doing his working his magic on the crowd, just having great conversations with everyone. This is Lucas, who never worked with me at HevDeal, but I would love to have had him work for us. Instead, he was working I think at VMware for a while, and also WeWorks and a bunch of other places. And
I was like, I don't remember that person. How did he get the employee shirt?
I know, right? Because he knows people. He's a good guy.
I guess so. He's connected. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. And then another friend from VMware that's kind of hanging out.
Nice.
A bunch of other wonderful people.
I was going to ask about these people. This makes me so happy.
Yes.
Yeah, that beard is fantastic. Great color too on Jason. And then Steven, love him.
Yep.
Haven't seen him in like 3 years. I need to find a way.
I love that he's wearing the rocket shirt. Yeah.
That's great. Great.
So then the show started, and the first thing we saw was on Wednesday, there was a great Cilium maintainers circle where a lot of folks were talking about like what was coming with Cilium and some of those discussions there. And so this was a picture of like, here's Liz and Dan and Thomas talking about what's coming with the Cilium service mesh stuff. And that crowd actually got pretty big for a while. And this is actually, what's funny about this picture is that this is a picture of people. They were originally in a room, and that room was packed, and they did the full like Cilium maintainer circle conversation there. And then when that room emptied out, a bunch of them like basically kind of transported outside the room and gathered up again and continued to talk about it. Like everybody, again, like the energy was so insane that like just everybody wanted to talk about everything that was happening. CoreOS reunion.
Yep, straight up.
This is actually at the Contributor Social. Here's Mr. David, my friend Rockcode on Twitter, hanging out.
Oh yeah,
hello folks. Two of the amazing people that I admire, Tabby and V. And this is actually our event. This was the HiveMind event, and it was again a kind of a rooftop bar, but really, I guess it wasn't a roof. I guess it was kind of at the top of the building, but it wasn't like a rooftop bar per se.
Kind of like a penthouse bar sort of thing.
Yeah, penthouse bar kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. And just a tremendous amount of people show up for this thing. It was definitely the event to meet. Like Thomas doing his introduction about what we're doing here, and just having some great conversations. It was great getting like so many people together and just kind of chatting about like what was happening in the space. Another great CTO picture.
Yep.
My friend Ricardo, who was on the TOC with me. These two were your hosts for Cilium Con. So Liz Rice and Laurent from Datadog.
Oh, great.
And I got a selfie in there too, because Thomas explaining the world to everyone.
You didn't do Thomas any favors with that picture.
That's fair. But I mean, I was just trying to it was a numbers game. Just taking
I know.
This was totally insane to me. So on Wednesday, I also had a talk that was the introduction to Tetragon and talking about Tetragon and application security and all of that. And I thought, like I was in there right before this at the previous talk, and like a few of the desks were filled, but it didn't seem like hugely full. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's kind of what I'm expecting. Right? Like it shouldn't be too crazy. And then this happened. Like this is a huge room.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, like
oh my gosh, it goes back further than I thought. It's like a clown car of rooms,
right? So this is like basically our. So Raphael, because Tracy Holmes was unable to attend, she had a family thing, and so Raphael Pinzon and we presented Tetragon and a workshop on Tetragon, and you can actually, as the audience, if you're interested in checking that out, you can actually go to isovalent.com/labs. Without the D, because I don't know what that D is doing there. So these labs are basically the lab that we did was the one that was on getting started with security observability. So this guy here, connectivity visibility. Where's the one I was looking for? I think it's this one. Security visibility is the one we did.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And it was a great. I mean, we use Instruct for all of these things, and I was a little bit worried because, like, I'm like looking at this huge audience, and I'm like, that's gonna be a lot of labs, Like,
you're gonna give them a hug and take the whole thing down.
Totally worked. Didn't
that's
have
great.
Any problems. Like everybody was able to get through the content, and it was just like, like it was tremendous. Like it was really crazy. And so that was an hour and a half. There's Mr. Raphael talking about what we're presenting on the screen. Yeah, it was totally nuts. And then, of course, because I'm a cubist,
yep,
I always have a cube around somewhere. Right? So these guys threw a challenge down. Tim, a friend of mine, Tim, on Twitter was like, "Don't let Duffy come and like compete for the thing because he's a ringer." So I had to come and do it.
Oh, did they have like a solve the cube contest or something like that?
Yeah.
I do not know this person, but I love their vibe. This rules.
You don't know Tim? Oh my gosh. This is a thing that needs to be fixed.
All right. Yeah, I love this vibe. I'm checking up everything he's putting down. This is great.
Yeah. Tim is like El Chefe on Twitter. But Tim Banks is a tremendous individual. He works for Dell. He works with Cat right now. But he's done a bunch of good work in our space. Like he's just a really good human.
Awesome.
And then I met this kind of shorter guy, like Chris Short. The beautiful thing about this photo, of course, is that Chris is actually taller than me, like by a stretch, even with the hat. And so, like, whenever we see each other, he has to like crouch down so that I can make the Chris Short joke.
Yeah.
This is our booth. And you can see, again, like I was saying, like there's a NetApp booth over here. But then, like, I'm like, how are they?
So they might have benefited, right? They might have gotten like some people like, oh, okay, well, let's go take a look at NetApp while we're here.
Oh my gosh, I was like, I mean, yeah. And then so many of our folks from Europe are there. There's Nico, who's responsible for so many of the labs that we get created.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so shout out to Nico and to Raphael, who you talked about like before. They've done a ton of work on the labs.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just it was completely nuts how much energy, and then again some great hearts from our community. And this is actually the CNCF education team.
Oh, great!
So this is Kara Pritchard and I'm blanking on his name, but the two of them together are actually responsible for all of the tests, all of the certifications that you can get from the CNCF. So the CKA, CKAS, all of those tests are put together by this education team. And I worked with them on quite a few of those tests, and it was really great to kind of meet them in person. But
that's great. Yeah.
Shiny Boot Club.
There you go. Hell yeah.
Here are the feet, and here are the people with the feet. And then I found this really great photo of myself and Andrew from Control Plane. It's really good. This is again at the event. Got to hang out with Benny Junod and a whole bunch of other VMware folks. That was really fun. Yeah, I think that's... Oh, got to see Mr. Chris. And it says that he was able to join our event that night. And then I love this picture.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love the energy of this photo because, like, it's a huge crowd. And then there's Thomas and we are coming.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
To your city. It's tremendous. Just a bunch of really good folks. Here, a couple softies that I really like,
The Tulip Zone is a great name. Love that. Amsterdam, obviously, makes sense.
Lucky and everybody. So this is
Was that Lucky?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks just different in this picture for some reason. I did not recognize him.
I think it's a baseball cap.
I think
usually
I've never seen.
You don't see him with a baseball cap. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is the hall that I did my final talk in at KubeCon. This was the malicious compliance talk. This is
okay. They expected this one to be big.
Empty hall, and it actually has a balcony.
Yeah, I see that.
This is it starting to fill up.
Oh my gosh!
This is us just before the talk. Basically doing a kind of a selfie of the photo of the four of us, like with the huge audience. About to basically drop this malicious compliance talk on them.
Is this the Sig Honk talk?
Yeah.
This is so Jed in chat is like, I can't wait to talk. I can't wait to see the recording of this. By the way, hi Jed.
I wish it were out. I wanted to actually share it with you in this episode, but it's sadly not there yet.
Also, shout out to Cigar and Tony as well. Welcome. Hey everyone.
Welcome. Glad you're here. All right. So yeah, this was a tremendous talk. It was also wild for me that this KubeCon actually, one of the things that stuck with me from this whole event was that, so this is the first time all four of us have ever been on the same stage at the same time together. And so we knew what we wanted to present. We had, done our work. We had done the research. We had created the script to a great degree, before we left, but we hadn't actually rehearsed or done any of the blocking or any of that stuff. And so there were chunks of time on Wednesday and Thursday where I was at Ian's Airbnb and the four of us were hashing that out. And so we actually had a chance to walk through the entire talk, I think 3 times before we delivered it. Once the Friday morning of, and then twice the day before, basically just kind of working through the entire piece and making sure everything gelled and that our story was consistent. And it really came off incredibly well. But it was a real treat to kind of deliver that. And some of the things that were surprising when you see this video, I think you'll get it. But there were places where we were showing how this works. Basically, the idea of the talk is that not all container image scanning isn't necessarily a place that will always tell you the truth. And it was so we're showing how to defeat image scanners. We get effectively an image that is got a whole bunch of CVEs in it, and we say well, how can we make the CVEs just not be reported? And we show 5 steps on how to do that.
It's actually surprisingly easy.
It really is. And after each of those steps, the audience was exploded.
Oh.
And I was not prepared for that. That was completely nuts.
Yeah.
Oh. A couple other awesome folks from our community. Hang out with these folks again. And then got to have dinner with my fellow EBs. And this was a bunch of the folks that were on the floor doing all the work of getting out there and meeting everybody. This was our amazing dessert. Got to hang out with this guy who is tremendous. He's one of the ambassadors for Microsoft and Docker and KubeCon and Kubernetes and all of that stuff. Nuno is his name. He's tremendous. If you ever get a chance to meet him, he's just a big old heart. And then Sig Airport leaving KubeCon.
I like Sig Airport.
Always fun. And then I also got to see Ashley, which was tremendous. Ashley was able to attend our talk. So that's the photo. Those are the photos just from everything.
Yeah, I know.
It's tremendous.
Great photos, though. I mean, it, like, obviously shows like all the love in the community and everything, and how like massive this event was, particularly for
It was
all the stuff that we're
absolutely
talking
nuts. Yeah. So these are the talks that we were delivering in at KubeCon, both as part of the CiliumCon and also as part of the main event. And so I showed you some pictures from several of these things. If you wanted to, if you click on any of them, they should be able to show you a little bit more about what we were talking about and how we were doing it. But the other thing I wanted to show you before we move on was this YouTube link. Stop. Okay, sorry. So this YouTube link is the YouTube link that basically describes all of the talks that were a part of CiliumCon, which I think for this audience is pretty important. So definitely check this out. And a special thing I wanted to point out, which I really loved. Let's see if I can find it here. So this is a friend, Karsten. And Karsten, I love that Karsten is not afraid of the obvious pun. Because he works for IKEA.
Yeah.
And he decided to like basically lay this out like
an IKEA. That's great. Yeah, I see exactly what's going on. This is very clever.
I love it so much. Talking about like how they've assembled the different pieces and parts to make like basically the way their infrastructure works. They're leveraging Cilium for cloud networking. And I just love how he did it so much. It just made me I was like, a lot of people are afraid of like the obvious pun, but like not Karsten. Karsten's gonna jump right in, and I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard it was a great talk too. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
Yeah. Another talk I think that you would like. Anne and Tej delivered an incredible talk on like the effort that Cilium and Bloomberg are on together, basically building data sandboxes at Bloomberg. And I was like, it was actually gave me, I mean, I've worked with these folks and we both have worked with these folks for quite a while, but like having them describe in this talk, like what they're doing with it was tremendously eye-opening, like it was really good. It's a really good use of the product and a really interesting challenge that they have that Cilium is able to help kind of solve for them, which I thought was tremendous.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that because I think having like it's better for them to describe exactly what they're doing rather than trying to like figure out what they're in discussions with them in meetings and things like that, you can only get so much, but then to hear them actually like come up and like volunteer to talk about what they're doing, we can see so much more, right? And so I'm quite excited to see this one.
And then this one was also pretty interesting. This was Ahmed, and I actually got to meet Ahmed in New York at that New York event because he's actually from New York, works at the New York Times. Kind of makes sense. And I got to see Ahmed again at CiliumCon, so it was really wonderful to kind of like meet somebody and get to spend some time with them and like do continents and that whole stuff. That was really great. Ahmed is a great speaker, and it was a surprise to me that this is the first time that Ahmed has ever spoken at a KubeCon. But I thought he did a tremendous job of the presentation and what he was and what they were and the problems that they're solving with Cilium.
That's great.
So check out those videos, folks. And again, if you want to see these notes, I just realized I didn't actually do this part. Sorry. Let me just do that. And then, okay. So if you want to see these notes, if you look down here on the lower right-hand corner of the screen, hackmd.io/echo live, if you go there, you're going to see all of the published notes for our episodes, including episode number 88088. And if you want to just follow that link, follow these links to those things, that's where you can find more of that information. One of the big announcements that I love how Thomas did this actually, because he was doing like a history of Cilium, like talking about like, kind of the forming of the company and like how it's grown over time. And then like he gets through most of that. And he's like, oh, and also we're here to announce this one other product, Cilia Mesh, which is a new one that actually gets created that we're working on. And Cilia Mesh is basically one mesh to kind of connect them all. And the idea is that like for the most part, we have all of these pieces, but the pieces that we were looking to expand into are these things like transit gateways, ingress gateways, egress gateways. But these gateways give you the ability to connect traffic from environments that where Cilium perhaps doesn't run. It could be FAS, functions as a service. It could be in AWS or Azure in different cloud environments. It could be traffic coming from some particular network segment within your existing infrastructure, and you want to be able to characterize that traffic, be able to see that traffic, and give it identity that can be that you can write network policy against. If you attract that traffic to a transit gateway, then on ingress into that transit gateway, we're able to characterize and give that traffic identity, and you're able to write network policy for it. So to learn more about Cilia Mesh, which was just announced at CiliumCon, this is a great article. It's actually on the Isovalent blog, introducing Cilia Mesh and how it works, and how to actually and how it functions. So if this is an area that you're interested in, definitely check it out.
Yeah, this is really, really, really cool.
And I actually got to see Berko at the talk and give him a hug, and it was really great to see Berko. He's always a good friend. I saw him before the presentation on malicious compliance, and I was like, what do you expect us to talk about? Like, because I wanted to understand, like what he was thinking. And then after the talk, I was like, so is it what you thought it would be? He goes, it was even better than I thought it would be. I was like, oh,
that's great.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about Cilia Mesh. We talked about videos. We talked about all of my crazy pictures. We talked about what we were up to. I think that gets us everything. There's actually one more thing I wanted to talk about, which is a new lab. There are 2 new labs. I think one of them was just announced last week. But the first lab that I wanted to talk about was migrating to Cilium. And this is based on the talk on the eCHO office hours I did on migrating from Calico to Cilium. And this shows you how to do that. So if you attended that talk, that eCHO office hours, and you want to play with it hands-on and kind of learn how that works and explore that, definitely come check it out. And then the other one that is actually also pretty interesting is the Advanced Gateway API use cases. So this lab is a follow-up to the Introduction to Gateway API, and it gets into some of the more advanced use cases for Gateway API. So interesting stuff. Definitely come check both of those out. And I think that was all of the content I had for today, other than to say, thank you so much for joining us. And it was just a tremendous event. And if you have anything to say in the audience, definitely, throw it into the notes. And otherwise,
sure.
Mr.
I'm curious, Duffy, if you don't mind, did you have a chance to take a look at any other talks outside of like the Cilium content? I know this is the Cilium eCHO hour and all that, but I'm curious about your experience as well. Like, was there anything outside of the Cilium sphere that you were like excited to see, or you were happy that you went and saw?
There were so many. There were so many talks, but like, again, the way that I generally try to survive this stuff is that I'm almost never like at the talks. Unless I'm one of the speakers, but
I'm a hallway track guy myself as well.
Yeah, it's just there's just so much, Like, I really enjoyed. Obviously, I really enjoyed seeing the what do we call it, the rejects. So that was a tremendous experience. Enjoyed that. But yeah, there were a number of really good lightning talks. I thought that actually got into things pretty well, like debugging Kubernetes with ETE leveraging Delve, which is a project that has been around.
Delve.
Yeah, Delve was tremendous, and it continues to improve. It's one of those projects that, like, I think this was created by a good friend of ours at CoreOS while we were there.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just started using it.
He's one of our core. I'm just gonna look it up real quick.
I know. I'm looking it up. The problem, it's such a common name. Delve container image.
Yeah. Contributors. You're going to recognize this guy. Derek Parker.
Yes, Derek Parker. Yep.
So he was part of the core dev team at CoreOS.
I just didn't put that together.
Yeah. And he developed Delve originally to help kind of troubleshoot some of this stuff. I think he'd already been working on it before CoreOS, and then at CoreOS that became kind of like one of his major focuses. And then he went after CoreOS, he joined Red Hat and became his like full-time gig for quite a while.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it just continues to improve.
But Tony in chat says, thanks for a great recap. They missed the malicious talk, but imagine it's a surprise from the audience, especially devs. So check out the video when it's up.
Yeah, and it should be up pretty soon. I just checked yesterday because I was hoping that it would be up so I could actually show you like, but you know what I will do is I'll show you where to find them when they do come.
There you
go. If you go to YouTube and you look up CNCF, you can type, because for some reason I can't.
No, you're showing your screen, so of course your ability to type has gone down.
So the CNCF Cloud Native Computing Foundation, inside of here under playlists, there is a playlist that should show you KubeCon Cloud Native Con EU. You can see that currently there's like 6 videos, which are the kind of countdown to KubeCon videos, but really soon there'll be 100-something more videos in this particular playlist. So if you do, when that becomes available, you're going to see that show up here in this playlist, the KubeCon Cloud Native Con Europe 2023. That's where it will be.
All right.
I was hoping it would already be here so that I could actually give you links to talks that I was going to be that I was excited about, but instead what I can do is kind of show you the schedule and show you like some of the amazing things. So the keynotes were completely off the hook.
Yeah,
just a ton of really great stuff. One of the things I will point out that I actually really appreciate that people do, if you go to, if you're on Twitter and you look at our friend, Mr. Bill Mulligan, pick away, Billy. So Bill actually is one of the bicyclists to KubeCon. He rode from Germany to KubeCon. It's insane.
Holy, that's a long way.
Took a train though for like some of it, like so it wasn't entirely by bicycle, but like actually Liz rode the entire way. Liz rode from Amsterdam to a ferry to England, and then overnighted on the ferry, and then the next morning rode the rest of the way.
I take it.
Pretty impressive. But
that was very impressive, actually.
Yeah. So one of the things I liked about Bill's Twitter feed is that he actually does capture some of the incredible keynotes. And here's our own Natalia signing books.
I heard the lines were like crazy for the book signings.
It was I mean, it was even crazier than it was in San Diego. Like it was, the energy just in general was tremendous, you know. And so here is like a great number of photos from Emily Fox talking about like how we grow our open source community and make it sustainable. Just a tremendous speaker and a tremendous talk. I'm excited to work more with Emily on the CNCF TOC. She's our chair, which is tremendous. But they were just a tremendous number of really great talks, and Bill did a really good job of capturing some of the stuff that happened in the keynotes. So definitely check it out. The videos will be uploaded at the 8
hour H.
The videos will be uploaded at 8 H, I believe. I'm not sure what that means.
8:30 maybe?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
All right.
I know they're coming. I know that they should be like, I think it's going to be either at the end of this week or at least no later than probably like the end of next week. But I know that obviously there's a ton of work to cut all those videos into like segments and like get the pieces pasted onto the end in the beginning. And it's a lot of work to do all of that. So
8th of May is what he was trying to say. 8th of May.
8th of May. So coming up. Not quite here yet.
That's a little bit, I mean, I'm not trying to like throw shade or anything. It's a little bit slower than they have been in the past, but there must have been so much content.
It was a lot of content.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that Bill actually captured a lot of the details of this talk in the slides, and it was tremendous. So it's really good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah.
So that was our KubeCon. It was just a tremendous amount of energy. It was a tremendous amount of interest, both in Cilium and eBPF and like everything that we've been talking about here on this eCHO office hours. And I mean, I was, just kind of blown away by the amount of energy and excitement. I mean, like, one of the things that was a big takeaway for me was that, like, the momentum of eBPF and what we're doing, like, if KubeCon is any indication, it's insane. Like, we've really reached a point where, like, people are mentioning Cilium in their talks when the talks are not necessarily about Cilium.
Yeah.
Right? They're talking about eBPF in their talks, and the talk itself is actually not necessarily about eBPF, right? They're just treating these as like fundamental base technologies that really improve the overall experience and the overall quality of their work and their world, and it's just seeing that happen over and over again at a convention this size was just wild, like.
It definitely gives you a sense of the impact. Like, the day to day, you'd be like, who's even using this thing, right? And then people are like, everyone's using it.
Everybody, yeah. Okay. Like, yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So, I mean, one last question really quickly. I know we don't really have too much more, but so how would you consider the energy in this KubeCon compared to the one in Seattle when Heptio was announcing its acquisition by VMware? So I remember, like, that KubeCon, like, it was all eyes on Heptio, and then we were like, hey, we got acquired, and everyone's like, what the hell? And so it was like kind of the talk of the KubeCon. You think this is like kind of the same thing, but like way bigger and way more like broader in impact? That's the impression I'm getting.
Yeah, I think, so that was fewer people, right? So this KubeCon was 10,000 people, and it was packed.
Yeah.
They sold KubeCon out before the show, and so there were so many people there that was like, but at the same time, the Rye Convention Center is so big that it didn't feel crowded. Like, you weren't in a place where, like, I mean, you could see crowds, like people were gathering and stuff, but at the same time, you could walk through the floor and not feel like you had to like be rubbing shoulders with anybody if you didn't want to, right? Like, so that was, I thought, really good. But yeah, like, and so overall, I mean, obviously that many more people includes that much more energy. And one of the things that was surprising to me was, like, even at that KubeCon in Seattle, like, the crowds that showed up to talks or the crowds that showed up to particular events were generally smaller crowds, even though, like, the interest was there. There just wasn't like not everybody was really showing up for like the actual the talks and sorts of things, right? And what I saw at this event was a whole different thing. Like, there were way more people in the talks. Like, I showed the pictures of like the Tetragon one. I was not expecting that many people to show up. Not because I don't think the quality of the talk was, high or anything, but like, I'm like, for the most part, I'm kind of expecting people to do the hallway track thing, right? Like, like, they're going to go have lunch somewhere. They're going to go like meet a bunch of people they haven't had a chance to meet. But no, like, they were turning up for like, like, these rooms were huge and people were filling them.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's
awesome. That's not normally the experience.
Like, I've definitely delivered talks at KubeCon where, like, they were like maybe 50 people in a 200-person room, and it was fine, right? Like, the 50 people that were there, I was glad to see them. It was great to have that conversation, but like, just completely mind-boggling to see like a much bigger thing happen kind of in every case. Like, every event that I was part of just completely blew their number out in a way that I was not anticipating.
That's great. Love to see that. So
I think overall it was just so much more energy. And it was true even of, like, I guess one of the other things I enjoyed about it was that, we went to Valencia, which was the other European KubeCon I was at. And that one was tough because although that was a big crowd, at the end of the day, everybody had to kind of like jump into the same cab. Right. And so it was really tough to kind of get around Valencia and get to meet people and like spend time with each other because it was like so crowded. Whereas like Whereas like here in Amsterdam, it's a walking and bicycling city. So and even buses and trams and like there's tons of ways to get around this city without touching a cab.
Which is great. Love that.
Yeah. And there's beautiful parks and like, you know, it was actually a great weather week to be there. Like it was supposed to like rain on Wednesday and Thursday. It never did. It was just beautiful.
Awesome. Oh, love to hear it. That's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that was my takeaway on it. And I think I agree with this. The highlight of KubeCon was definitely eBPF and Cilium, and I can't wait for Paris, which is the next European one, which I'm super excited about.
That is.
The one that you and I will be at next is Chicago.
Yep. Do you know when that is actually? I just realized.
I know the CFP just opened. And it's actually on Sessionize this time. Exciting.
I really do want to try and make it to Chicago. November 6th or 9th.
So what talk are we going to...
I'll see.
So what talk are we going to put in? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question.
This is Valencia. I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah, it's 6th through the 9th, 2023.
Yeah.
Or in a meeting we talked about a demo for Project eCHO. Maybe we can turn that into a talk.
We should do it.
Yep. We can practice it here and then see if we can deliver it in Chi-Town.
Yeah.
One of my favorite American cities. I really am quite fond of Chicago.
It is really cool.
It's like in my top 3, I think.
Yeah.
That being said, I've never been to New York, so what?
Aparna and Frederick are the program co-chairs. Very exciting.
Oh, great.
Yep. But yeah. So get those talks in. The CFP is open. It's open until I can't remember I don't remember when it shuts, but it's currently open. Oh yeah, there we go. So notification 28th. Event date. CFP notification. CFP closes June 18th.
June 18th. So you got some time.
You know, don't wait till the last second.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
You shouldn't be for the last second for sure.
I hope you all have a great weekend. I have a lot. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you, Nick, and great to see the audience kind of checking in with the comments. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you for, if you were a part of it, thank you for bringing so much energy to KubeCon, and I hope that we all get to see each other again real soon.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks for having me.
Bye.
See you.
See you.